The world is watching, and right now, the world is holding its breath. It has been more than 2 weeks since the opening salvos of what analysts are already calling one of the most consequential military conflicts of the 21st century, a war between the United States, Israel, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. And yet, despite mounting casualties, soaring oil prices, and the effective strangling of one of the world's most critical sea lanes, not a single side has blinked. If anything, the rhetoric is growing louder, the strikes more frequent, and the stakes higher with every passing hour. It began on February 28, 2026, when a coordinated U.S.-Israeli strike killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In a single night, the geopolitical order of the Middle East was shattered. Within days, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow choke point through which nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply passes, and the global economy shuddered. Oil prices spiked, markets trembled, and the guns, rather than going silent, grew louder still. Now, on March 15, 2026, Donald Trump gave his most revealing interview yet to NBC News. His words were blunt, almost casual in the way that only he can make declarations of potential war sound, and they were chilling. Iran, Trump confirmed, wants to make a deal. Tehran has signaled a desire to come to the table, but Washington, at least for now, is not interested. "I don't want to make it," Trump told the anchor, "because the terms aren't good enough yet." He went further. U.S. forces, he said, would step up strikes along the Iranian coastline north of the Strait of Hormuz, with the explicit goal of clearing a passage for oil shipments to resume. And then he added something that stopped observers cold, that he might bomb targets on Iran's Kharg Island again, the oil hub from which nearly all of Iran's petroleum exports flow, and he might do it, in his own words, just for fun. Whether that was a negotiating tactic, a warning shot, or a genuine expression of intent, no one could say for certain. But in a war where words carry the weight of missiles, it landed hard. Kharg Island was already struck on Friday, March 13th. Both Washington and Tehran confirmed the attack, and both confirmed the same thing. The strikes targeted military defenses only. The oil export terminals were left intact. For now. The message embedded in that restraint is unmistakable. The United States is telling Iran that the infrastructure keeping its economy alive exists only at American discretion, that the decision not to destroy it was a choice, and that choice could change. Meanwhile, a new supreme leader sits in Tehran, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, son of the man killed in February's opening strikes, has issued a written vow to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. But he has not appeared in public, not once. Trump, in his NBC interview, cast doubt on whether the new supreme leader is even alive, saying he did not know if Mojtaba was alive and that nobody had been able to show him to the world. Iran pushed back on Saturday, insisting there is no problem with its new leader, but offered no images, no footage, no proof of life visible to the outside world. In a war already saturated with uncertainty, that vacuum is profound. On the ground and in the skies, the violence continues without pause. The Israeli military announced a new wave of strikes against targets in western Iran on Sunday. These came in direct response to a chilling declaration from Iran's Revolutionary Guards, the elite force that serves as the ideological backbone of the Islamic Republic, who labeled Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a criminal and vowed, publicly and without ambiguity, that they would pursue and kill him. It was not a veiled threat. It was a formal statement of intent from one of the most powerful military organizations in the region. Across the border in Iraq, the situation is equally volatile. The United States has urged all of its citizens to leave the country immediately, as pro-Iranian militant groups have begun launching attacks against the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and against bases where Western military units are stationed. The conflict that was supposed to be contained is already spreading. Further afield, the Gulf states are absorbing the shockwaves. On Sunday, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia both reported intercepting fresh barrages of projectiles, with air raid sirens sending the population of Manama scrambling for shelter. In Dubai, air defenses were activated once again after Iran's military issued a warning to UAE civilians to stay away from port areas. The region, which had carefully balanced its relationships with both Iran and the West for decades, is now caught in the crossfire. Trump has floated a possible solution to the Strait of Hormuz crisis, an international naval coalition to escort oil tankers through the contested waters. In a social media post on Saturday, he called on China, France, Japan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, and other affected nations to send warships to the region. The responses have been, at best, cautious. Britain's Ministry of Defense said only that it was discussing options with allies. South Korea said it was closely monitoring Trump's remarks. Japan, bound by some of the world's most restrictive laws on military deployment, noted that the legal threshold for sending its navy into the region was extremely high. The coalition Trump envisions may be a long time coming, if it comes at all. And in the meantime, every day the strait remains closed, the global economy bleeds a little more. The human cost of this war is staggering and growing. Iranian health ministry figures, which cannot be independently verified, report that more than 1,200 people have been killed by U.S. and Israeli strikes. The United Nations Refugee Agency has estimated that up to 3.2 million people have been displaced inside Iran, most of them fleeing the capital and other major cities, seeking safety wherever they can find it. The Pentagon has announced that more than 15,000 targets inside Iran have been struck since the conflict began. 15,000. The scale of that destruction is almost incomprehensible. And yet, and this is perhaps the most extraordinary detail in this entire extraordinary story, the people of Tehran are slowly, cautiously beginning to move again. On Sunday, the streets of the capital showed signs of life that had been absent since the war began. Traffic was heavier. Some cafes and restaurants had reopened their doors. A resident was spotted gliding down a street on an electric hoverboard. In the Tajrish Bazaar in the north of the city, one of Tehran's oldest and most beloved markets, more than a third of the stalls had reopened, with Nowruz, the Persian New Year, just 5 days away. Shoppers queued at ATMs to withdraw cash. Bus stops that had stood empty since February 28th now had passengers waiting at them. There is something both moving and heartbreaking about that image. Ordinary people going about the fragile business of living in the shadow of a war their government chose and they are paying for. 5 days before New Year, flowers in the market, a hoverboard on a quiet street, life insisting on itself, even here, even now. The U.S. has also dispatched the amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli to the region, along with approximately 2,500 Marines. The military buildup continues on all sides. Diplomacy, for the moment, remains frozen, with Washington refusing to negotiate on current terms, Tehran refusing to open the strait, and Israel pressing forward with fresh strikes almost daily. Where does this end? That is the question every analyst, every diplomat, every frightened family in Tehran and Baghdad and Manama are asking right now. Trump says the terms for a deal are not good enough yet, implying that a deal is possible eventually if Iran is pressured enough. Iran's new supreme leader has vowed defiance, and the guns keep firing. This story is far from over. Stay with us as we continue to track every development in this rapidly evolving conflict. And if you found this breakdown valuable, if you want to understand what is really happening behind the headlines, explained clearly and without the noise, then please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a single update. We cover the stories that matter, the way they deserve to be covered. See you in the next one.